It's my honor and privilege to introduce you to our guest speaker, Professor Thomas Holloway from the University of Calgary.
So it was great. The students were doing good work. They were doing it in groups. The problem was that when they handed it in, we would grade the reports and give them back their marks. And there was this constant desire from students, oh, can I get some feedback? I want to know how to do better. I put a lot of work into this. Why didn't I get my grade? And as an instructor, it was a little bit frustrating because it was sort of obvious to me and the TAs that were helping me with the grading that, some reports are just better than others. And it's fairly easy for us to see a spectrum. But the problem is that we had the benefit of seeing 50 or 60 reports, and the individual student group would really only just see their own. So the obvious idea would be, oh, well, let's show some examples, maybe some good ones and some bad ones. So I tried that. But overall, there was just still this, when you get the same question 100 times, you kind of know there's something there. That was what I was getting. And I think the answer was not just to give more detailed rubric or more detailed grading or more detailed notes. I think students really just wanted to know where they fit into the spectrum. And so we discovered Kritik as an option. And I think that there's a ton of features and we can get into them, but I think maybe it's not that important at this point to understand every single feature, but rather just the pure power of the ability for a student to see, of course, their own work or their own group work, but then to see 3 or 4 other projects, which were in our case based on the same assignment. The students would already have a much better visibility on what the spectrum of quality is, or some of the other creative ideas that other groups came up with. And then the other piece of it, of course, is that other than just seeing all those other pieces of work, they are forced to do something hard, which is to actually critically evaluate what was good and what was bad and put that into words. Kritik does, as a software package, is just facilitate that. We could probably do it ourselves with photocopiers and creatively printing off things and handing them around, or the digital equivalent of that. The value of the user experience here is also pretty high. So that's where the software package came in. And one thing I've talked about this before with Kritik and others is, if you think about our students right now, whenever they do something meaningful to them, whether it's going to a restaurant or going horseback riding or partying on the weekend or whatever it is, they like to capture that with photos or movies, and they post it on Instagram or whatever they're doing, Snapchat, and they like the idea of sharing with their social group that they did something. And then their social group gets to respond to that with messages and likes and things like that. So it might be kind of an unconventional way of thinking, but the work that they do at university is also a super big part of their week. And the idea that they can encapsulate that into a PDF or a video or what have you, and submit it. Of course, traditionally they submit it to the professor and the TAs, but now it's an opportunity basically to submit that back to their own peer group. And it's not just about putting it out there, it's also about collecting we all like to get those likes on our Instagram or something. Then that's what the students are getting too. They're getting that feedback. Part of the buy-in can come from the fact of the desire to receive evaluations. Like I said, there was a real demand pull from that I kept hearing from my students. I've done all this work, I got a mark, but I just don't feel like I'm hearing enough back. Maybe that was my shortcoming. And then I think the way to turn that around is like, look, I can deliver you with some really helpful feedback, but what I need from you is to submit that feedback to others. And then, you get paid back, never mind marks. You get paid back with constructive feedback on your own work. And I think if we can outline that purpose and that payoff, then it's a natural opportunity for them to just lean into it. Kritik is a logistics delivery system for doing a fairly complicated task of shuffling papers around and asking the right people the right questions and putting the right content in front of them. And it scales. It doesn't matter whether it's 10 people in the class or 300 people in the class. The software, like any software, just scales no problem. And just like sheer bandwidth, I guess, is kind of back to that earlier point. The classic trick with 300 people is to put them in groups of 5, because then you divide your number, like the number of projects gets divided by 5. So whether it's presentations or term papers, you've taken 300, you divide by 5, now you only have 60 reports. But still, 60 reports is a lot. If I were to try to grade in detail and provide great commentary on 60 reports, that's going to be extremely challenging and time consuming, even if I have an army of TAs. So really, we're just putting that back to the room in a facilitated way.